Hello, welcome to Giant Robot Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today we have another Tokusatsu Thursday review. This time we're reviewing the 2005 TV series Garo, which is the first of the Garo franchise. Directed by Keita Amemiya, who we already reviewed some short movies that he did. He did the Kamen Rider Zio and Kamen Rider J movies. This show has 25 episodes and stars Ryosei Konishi as Koga Saejima. They have it on Google. They have it Saejima, but on the subtitles it was Saejima. Harunobu Kageyama as the Makai Magic Ring Zaruba. Mika Hijii as Kaoru Mitsuki. Fujita as Rei Susumura, also known as Zero or Ginga, however you pronounce that. He goes by different names in the movie. And apparently this actor was in some Kamen Rider show. I think it was Kamen Rider 5, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a couple spin-off movies from Garo. Yeah. You have Yukijirō Hotaru as Gonzo, who he's in another Keita Amemiya TV show as well. He was in Giant Robot Mikazuki, which we're going to try to review next on Tokusatsu Thursday. If not, we'll just do if we don't finish in time, we'll do another reaction. And we have Orikasa as the magic necklace Silva, or Silver, as she's sometimes called. She belongs to Rei's character. So the show is, it's kind of like Power Rangers. But if Power Rangers came out like in the a few years after the Matrix, and they kind of it's like they kind of aesthetically copied the Matrix, but instead of Cyberpunk X, they made it Gothic as hell. Our characters are wearing Gothic, Gothic trench coats and stuff. So the story for this show is, it starts off with the show starts off following this character named Kaoru Mitsuki, who's a 30-year-old woman living in Tokyo. At least I think it's Tokyo. Who's an aspiring artist who is going to have a exposition open up for to show off her art, and she gets attacked by a horror, which a horror are basically these demons that come out of shadow gates from the demon realm that possess people, right? And they'll kill and eat people's souls, right? And our other main character, Koga Saejima, is a Makai Knight whose job is to kill horrors. He works for the Watchdogs, who are these 3 little girls who are in charge of the eastern jurisdiction, where our main character hunts horrors. They're kind of like cops, right? But their job is to hunt horrors who mostly attack at night for whatever reason. And our main character is armed with a sword made out of soul metal and a magic ring called Zarzuba, which gives our character advice and can tell him the locations of horrors, and Zarzuba also belonged to his father, Taiga Saejima, who was a Makai Knight, who died fighting what our main character thought was a horror, that turns out to be an evil Makai Knight called Barugo, who was his apprentice, who became this horror-eating Makai Knight called Kiba, right? Who is later revealed to be the main villain of the show, right? So, what happens is Koga saves Kaoru from a horror, but she ends up getting splashed by the horror's blood and becomes one of the bloodstained. Which bloodstained are people who've been who've touched horror's blood, who become basically bait for horrors. They're like really tasty humans to horrors, right? So our main character, instead of killing her, because the bloodstained, according to the Makai Knights, are supposed to be killed. That's the law, but he's able to convince the watchdogs that they keep the girl alive, so he can use her as bait to kill horrors, right? When really he wants to save the girl, right? So a lot of the show is our main characters arguing with each other, having this romance build up, which our character is kind of like an autistic Batman, where he's very rude. He doesn't know how to talk to girls. He's very standoffish. He's kind of like Sasuke from Naruto, but not as cool in my opinion. Which I forgot to mention, Makai Knights can summon magic armors, right? Which our main character is the Golden Knight Garo, which obviously I can't tell if it's supposed to be a wolf, but it's either a wolf or a lion. I think it's a wolf, where it's like a gold knight with a wolf-shaped helmet, right? And he can only it gives him enhanced strength and magic powers. Where one of his special moves is where he can Zarbuk can breathe green fire, called sorcery fire, and he can combine that attack with his sword and can cut anything in half with it, which was that's a really cool move. And he also later on in the show, he also gets more special moves and more upgrades. One upgrade he gets is that he gets the Makai Beast Goten, which is a magic mount that he can ride, and he also gets a bigger sword. And at the near the end of the show, he gets wings, right? All other characters are Gonza, who is the butler of the Koga, which Koga. That's where we get another one of the Batman comparisons, because Gonza is pretty much the Alfred character, who was looked after Koga after his father died. They don't ever mention his mother. And another character is Ray, who is the Silver Knight Zero, who is from the Western jurisdiction, who's out to investigate Garo because he thinks Garo is the one that killed his adoptive father and his adoptive sister, who he loved, or stepsister, or whatever, that he loved very much. And he constantly flirts with Kaoru because the pissed off Koga, and it turns out both Koga's father and Ray's family were killed by the same knight, Kiba. So most of the show is our characters hunting horrors that have different themes. One of the horrors was was a mermaid. Was a mermaid. One that possessed people with clocks. One was a clown with two puppets. That was a really cool horror. They all have different themes, and it's mini. You get each episode's a mini horror movie where our character kills the monster at the end, until halfway through the show where Kaoru's time limit is coming up, and our character has to go on a quest to save her, to find the special ingredient that will purify Kaoru of magic blood. After that, there are there are great anime portrayals. A character, the Kaoru's psychiatrist, who I thought was going to turn out to be the Black Knight Kiba, even though there was like flashbacks where you see Kiba and like he looks nothing like him. But it turns out he has like a magic potion to change his face, so that was a really cool reveal, right? And yeah, the like I would say more than like after the halfway point of the show, it stops being episodic and you start to have arcs, right? And there's some great battles here and there, and the costumes for all the different horrors were really cool and had some really cool designs. Though some of the horrors are sometimes CGI, some of them are practical, and there are some, like, if you're not a fan of CGI fights, there are some, epic CGI fights here and there, which, they'll try to mix practical with the CGI. Though there are a lot of green screen like backgrounds and stuff going on. Because you gotta keep in mind that this is a Tokusatsu show. They have limited budgets, right? So that they're going to have to use CGI. And also because, like I said, this is like an R-rated Power Rangers. There are some episodes where there are nudity. Like one of the final bosses of the show is this naked white chick. Well, she's not Caucasian, but like she's all painted white. Who's like supposed to be the king, the ultimate horror called Messiah. Which that all the different horrors have some names where they're named actually after real demons and stuff, and some like there are just random names like Humpty. Where like even one of the demons in the show is Moloch, if you ever heard of it, which you probably have if you ever played SMT, or if you're into conspiracy theories, you'll hear about Moloch a lot. Right, so it's the thing where the show is goofy at times, but there's some really cool, like, I really like the characters, the sets, well, not sets, the costumes, and like, the character designs are great. My problem with the Garo franchise is they kind of reuse like the same character designs over and over again. Like if you ever watch the Garo animes, which I've watched the first one, I haven't seen the other two, but like I own the Blu-rays, but I haven't got around to it. They pretty much reuse the same like costumes, except they'll change like designs a little bit here and there. But like all of our Garo characters are like gold knights with wolf face masks. Which is like, could they not come up with something like, little, like, could we have more variety? Which, in the first Garo anime, there was like the gold knight, the silver knight, and the red knight. Here you have just the gold, silver, and black knight, Kiba. But overall, I don't know, I really enjoyed this show, and if I were to give it a rating, I would say it's probably a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, and I think if you're a fan of like, if you ever wanted like a horror version of like Power Rangers or Tokusatsu, this is for you. But you have to deal with the J drama like looking like camera quality. The camera quality looks very soap opera-esque, but that's probably budget reasons. Like, yeah, the budget kind of gets in the way, but overall, I thought there was some cool. I really enjoyed the characters, the cool costumes, the prosthetic effects. Though there is fake CGI blood. Overall, though, I did think the show was pretty cool, and there's some really cool like horror elements as well. Especially like the one guy who finds like a goldfish, abandoned goldfish, who gets bigger every time it gets blood, and he starts like feeding it like women, and like it'll start like it turns like it starts to attach like the woman's parts, so he like creates this perfect woman by feeding the goldfish like women body parts and stuff, and like Garo shows up. The dude's like about to have sex with it, and like Garo shows up and kills it. He's like, yeah. And there's also an episode where like the father of one of the horror victims, one of the horror possessed victims, gets a gun, a magic gun, and tries to assassinate Koga. Which that episode was pretty cool. That's in like the second half of the show. Which you can get the show in the West because Kraken put out the Blu-rays collection 1 and 2, which I own. I can't remember how much they cost, but you know, you're probably gonna, you know, if you buy it online, you'll get a lot cheaper. But if you buy it through a store, you probably have to pay like $100 or so for both sets. Not each, but like, you know, yeah. I don't know. I really like I said, like, you know, if you're into Tokusatsu stuff, you'll probably enjoy this show. Like, people talk about this show a lot, right? And like I said, it's basically like a horror R-rated Power Rangers. All right. So if that doesn't sound awesome to you, I don't know like what else to say to convince you to check it out. All right, guys. Peace, and make sure to check out my next Tokusatsu Thursday video where we're gonna we're gonna try to finish Mikazuki in time to review it. All right. That's it for today's review. Later. Peace.